220. So what she actually ran was 221 to 321. So then on page 12, you have the first actual this month's new payments that weren't just journaled to the proper accounts. Admissions, fitness center, some tax settlements, nice one there for 214,000. That's why we're at 55%. Different Fund 21s, nothing that I highlighted when I went through this earlier today. But we'll have that in checks always, is where there's the more fun stuff. And like I said, the only major payments besides taxes that we've received came in actually just yesterday. So that takes me to the yellow, which is always the most interesting. The monthly checks and wires. Just a reminder as you're here, the gray is the top line. You'll get this in a few months of seeing these, you're gonna get them. The gray, which in my brain, I feel like that should be the end line. The gray is the top line. So at the very first entry on page 1, 2/28/2025, the check number, check vendor name CISA 5, check amount 2388.75. Then the invoice description is below January business services. Oh, that's probably for support for Cindy. And that was the payment to CISA 5 for support for Cindy. New gray line, Lamer's bus lines, 2768. Oh, that was for a coach bus. If you wanted to know for the coach bus, that might have been for NHS or,
That's what it says.
oh, it says Lamer's, NHS Lamer's coach right there in the invoice description. There you go. Hey, Wayne knows how to read them already. So as you look through this, and this is where I probably did highlight some things, that will help you kind of see where we're at. I do notice on the top of page 2, the GFL. I am going to ask the board to reconsider GFL. If you remember, they were overcharging us for a long time. I finally told them, you will charge us what you originally priced. And they said, fine, if you start a new contract. I said, absolutely not. I will not start a new contract with you. You treated us unfairly. That contract is up in September. So this summer, we'll have to look at whether we want to go with them or Harder's or whoever else serves this area. Just something to keep in mind. If you look at the Amazon invoices, a little bit further down the page, they're nicely unpacked. The invoice description gives you every item. This is still on page 2. You can see below that the Macomb Brooks, that's a movie theater, I believe, in Watoma. So that's a field trip for 1st and 3rd grade. But lots of nice description here. And this is very similar to last month. So, Mind Energy. I didn't have anything that jumped out at me. Cisco Bearboot. I was wondering what WCEA was on page 5. That's actually it's a technology education conference and membership for Mr. Seminole. It's the one conference he goes to, and that's the only thing wasn't obvious just from looking at the description for me, but that might not be true for everyone. Fertilizer and supplies, that time of year. So Wills, you're going to see like $2,000 for Wills, another thing for Wills. And then underneath it, this is on page 7, issues and controversies, Wills membership renewal. Those are library related, and those purchases are using common school library funds we receive from the state and lose if we don't use them. Miss Rink, our new librarian, has been very good about using up those funds on good, appropriate purchases. So it's not an easy trick. I've had many librarians who haven't been able to use up our common school library funds. So she is pretty good at that. Village Plainfield will come up a little later in the meeting. Okay, I didn't have anything else circled in there. Any questions on any of that? And if you want to start with the checks, if there was something that jumped out at you, let me know. But I do think the descriptions that are finally really thorough.
Can I ask a question about, maybe you'll know the answer. The first page, first one, it says January bus service? And
Business.
Okay.
That would be probably the support for Miss Cindy Rettler, our business manager, bookkeeper.
I misunderstood.
Yeah.
I was looking for the AHS and it's number 2, not number 1.
Yeah, NHS, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Any other questions on any of that?
Did we fix the roof already this spring?
No.
Well, why
Oh,
is
we fixed the roof, but not, there's an $11,000 charge. We are continuously chasing cracks down and sealing them. And then 3 months later, heating and contraction and expansion, we're finding a new crack or cracks from the seal. So we're doing everything we can to keep the 5-gallon pails out of the hallways.
Yeah, I assume that, but
Yeah,
how do you repair that in the winter? Those
that
cracks?
probably, oh, Michael didn't send us his bill. Cindy chased him down. That was a bill from probably September, October.
Okay.
Oh no, it was the W-9 he has to get us. He has to prove to us that he's paying his taxes before we can do a PO to him. And it took him forever to get us that W. I don't know if that's probably good thing, but yep. We used the same guy the village did when they did the fire department, which we'll talk about later. Any other questions? Sorry. Cindy.
Any questions?
In regards to this one,
Yes,
are we
sir.
gonna continually get these, late entries?
Journaling is something that happens pretty regularly. Cindy's hasn't been journaling as much, so because of the cume, they're showing up like this. But Amy and I would probably go through a stack of journals like this every couple of weeks. Journaling is natural. It's something that happens. So don't see it as a late entry. It's part of the job. My God, my 33-year veteran, we would journal books every month because you have to. Cindy stepped out. You have to journal things to get them where they belong. It wasn't that they were ever put in the wrong place and
No,
put
I understand why, I just thought maybe it was a catch-up, this was a catch-up.
Journaling is something, the reason it shows up in Cume like this, is that a new Cume thing?
I submit them about once a month. I try to do. So I try to just build the whole batch and then try to submit them. I missed submitting one in January. It doesn't matter when it hits; it all hits at the same time. With the new queue system, I'm still trying to remember how many processes and how many buttons I have to click to make it show up. So yeah, I did miss one in January, so it didn't hit this one. But typically, I try to do them at the end of each month, so you'll only see them once.
Yeah, and don't confuse us anymore, we are.
I try not to. I confused myself on that one.
Thank you, Cindy.
Any other questions?
I said, cool.
Cool. All
Good
right.
question.
I would entertain a motion then to approve the payment of checks and receipts of revenue from February 26th through March 25th of 2025. Okay, Bertie's,
Birdie has
and then I totally missed who was second.
Well, one of the gyms, just.
I heard Jim.
Give it to Jim Miller. It's his last night. Let him.
All right, then moving on to public forum. Is there anyone here that would like to address us in public forum? Yes, ma'am. Virginia.
Give me the rules, Cindy.
I saw another hand back there too, so.
There you go.
Okay.
Well, I have to go first.
Okay, I have to read this statement first though. I would like to welcome our guests and thank you for your interest regarding school affairs. Each of you, if you wish, will be allowed to address the board during our public forum. The public forum is at the option of the board. Please keep in mind that this is a meeting of the district board that is open to the public and not a public meeting. Each participant is to stand, identify himself or herself by name and address. He or she will direct his or her remarks to the board. Those who speak shall limit their remarks to 3 minutes in length and will be allowed to speak only once until all those who wish to participate have spoken. Groups are asked to designate a spokesperson to make their presentation. The presiding officer shall reserve the right to limit, discontinue, or reopen audience participation at any time. No action shall be taken by the board on any matter presented to the board during the public comment, unless the subject has been promptly posted pursuant to Wisconsin open meeting laws. Miss Virginia.
Do I need to time you, Virginia?
Wait.
Oh, wait.
Tom Hancock, I'm just a curiosity, way everything is going. If we have where the insurance won't cover stuff with a roof, whatever, does the school district have a contingency fund with a lot of money to replace this without, like when they asked for that money for the referendum and everything? Not knowing everything, do they have a contingency fund? And I'm just asking in a respectable way, everything is going with, like last time I was here and I asked about the budget cuts and then Department of Education going down. And this is not a political or anything, I'm just asking the state rate and everything on the taxpayers too. Does the school district have the money, or do they have to maybe go out and borrow it, or like with that referendum, they got X amount of dollars, cause every place you look, Port Edwards had a boiler system that was shot, it was gonna cost umpteen $1 million. And I just thought I'd ask it in a constructive way to the board members, taxpayers, and see if there is a contingency fund. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Virginia.
My name is Virginia McGregor. I live at N 5496 Second Avenue in Plainfield, way over there in the west. And I'm sure you guys missed me, but I did have a couple of things that were going on. And I did have a few things in mind. They may be sort of dated now, but I have one concern is that I noticed some time ago in a little publication about this good behavior awards that we were giving out, I guess, in the elementary school. And I'm just wondering, how much time and money are we spending on our good behavior awards, and don't we just expect good behavior? And if we are rewarding children for good behavior, are there some kids in that classroom who are not getting rewarded, who are now singled out as the bad seed? I just think this feel-good, touchy-feely, wonderful, oh, you're so sweet, give you a little award thing is a bit over the top and a waste of time and money and effort. My other point is, I have a minute and a half left. I was a little disappointed again when everybody was bragging about how many of a percentage of our students are on the honor roll. Well, if our students were all on the honor roll, 50%, nearly 50% of our kids are on the honor roll. Yet our test scores are not that great. So something is out of sync. Either the way we're grading or our expectations in the school, or is the DPI that screwed up, that our test scores are invalid? And what's a person supposed to do when they're trying to decide whether or not our kids are getting a quality education? If you look at it statistically, if you take any group of kids, 50% of them really should not be on the honor roll. There has to be a much more of a curve there, and that's only from years of experience that all you know I have. So that's just my comment, and I'd like to somehow find out the answers to where so many kids are, I'm on the honor roll, our standardized scores are here, our honor roll kids are here. Where's the middle kids who aren't on the honor roll, that aren't failing? There's got to be a middle. Statistically, it cannot happen that many kids could be this high. It's just not statistically possible unless there's something really funky going on with the grading and our curriculum expectations in the school. Thank you. And I'm sorry you missed me, but I do have a personal life.
Thank you, Virginia.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Regular agenda. We didn't? Oh, jeez. So sure. I told you you're gonna have to hit me tonight. Thought we were way ahead.
Okay, consent agenda, we have items A through H. I would entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented. Mr. Knudsen.
Jim Caesar will second.
Jim Caesar. I gotta go back to C, K, and M again. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. All right. All right. Moving on, unfinished business, there is none. Which is nice. Moving on to new business. Item A, discussion and action to approve policy 5411 to meet Act 20 legal requirements. This is one we really don't have any say over, we have to have.
You guys have been hearing about Act 20 for a while. I guess I'll wait for a motion.
I need a motion and a second to discuss.
Second.
Okay, Mark,
Just really briefly, yeah, this is state law. Neola wrote it for all of us. Per the state law, we have to pass it by, I think, June. It doesn't even go into play until September of 2027, which gives the state government lots and lots of time to change their mind 3 or 4 times. But we will at least be in compliance with the law if we pass this tonight. What you're passing, just so you know, which is required by state law, is that we will now, again, after many years probably of not doing this, we will be required by state law to consider retention at the end of 3rd grade based upon the performance of students and their reading scores. So just that we have to consider it. It doesn't say we have to do it. We have to have guidelines for how, in what way we will consider it. That is what we have to pass per state law on Act 20.
So we're kicking the can down the road for 2-3 years yet before you have to do something.
Correct. I mean, that, they don't do things real quick. They require us to have the policy in place quick, and it's because they're basically, the reason the state legislators are doing it this way is they're saying by 2027, our work, these teachers' work of Act 20 will be in place enough to finally have a 3rd grade class that has had Act 20 for 3 years in place. So that would be the first year where you could actually retain a kid based on the Act 20.
Why is there only a retention policy for 1 grade?
We have a retention policy for the whole school. We can legally retain it at any time. It's just that the practice has been for at least 40 years that we research has shown that retention does not improve a child's academic success after, I would say kindergarten at the latest, maybe 1st grade, rarely. After that, it really doesn't improve academic success. Being with your peers of similar age often has more of a play on your success than retaining a kid at a grade level. It's just what research shows.
We don't have our opinions.
That's true. And then there's research. Any other questions about this? Which, of course, you really can't even question.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Gosh, I need to spell. All right, item B, discussion, assessing school board performance evaluations, no action. I have those here, whoops. We've only got 4 of them back and 1 of them is mine. Do we want to discuss these tonight, or do we want to do it at like a little pizza party or something?
Cindy, one of those that you got is mine, but, I almost think we have to have a meeting and look at what those questions are again, because
I know.
it's just,
It needs to
it's
be
really,
revised.
it's really not too meaningful, and I can
Right.
understand why people didn't turn it in. Thanks. I mean, how do we, as an example, if there is a problem in the board and the president and and you take care of that problem, and we don't know about it, how do we know what
How do
the
we know?
answer, you know,
Yeah.
and it's just those sort of things that I think, we could look at.
And I know Wayne has something to say too. What I like, if we did that as a separate meeting where we just looked at this, kind of like we did with my evaluation the last time, where we actually just went through every single one, talked it through, said, do these make sense? That would be a development of the board in and of
Right.
itself, because in discussing all the questions, you guys would have, and of course, this has to be an open session. But if we did it at a special meeting in 2 weeks, we could have a meal and just focus on this one thing instead of taking 5 minutes to say, how we doing? But that's just, Wayne, what did you wanna say?
No,
Okay, alright,
I just don't understand why 5 of 9 didn't respond at all. You could at least say, what's the point?
I
I can't
didn't
even
get
get mine open.
You're waiting for yours in the mail yet?
I didn't get it.
And Jim's explanation of, maybe it just
Yeah,
didn't.
we've gone through this whole scenario, how many years now? Do the same old song and dance.
Then let's actually have the meeting, let's schedule it tonight.
My packet had stuff from the month before and so forth, so my packet was a little screwed up.
I get mine on, you get yours- we all get it online, right? So look at the email,
Yeah, but I don't.
you don't.
You've got it
easy
in
to
the folder.
get.
I'm getting mine in my packet, but that doesn't mean yours didn't have one. But we'll make sure you get one before we discuss it.
But do you guys
Well,
wanna
I
do
won't be
that?
on the board probably, so
It's
There
probably
you
the
go,
most
you
new
got 6
calendar.
days left, don't you?
it probably was the new calendar.
Do you guys want to, at the end of the meeting, schedule something in a couple of weeks to sit down together?
Well, if we gotta revise it, we gotta, let's get it.
Yeah, let's get together and do it.
And I think it would be nice to do that meeting before Jim is gone, to get his input.
Right.
Or we can always, it's an open meeting, we can
it's
invite
each
you.
time.
Open
Oh,
meeting
that's
so we
true.
can come.
This term doesn't end
Till
until
the middle or.
Right, April 22nd.
next month.
That's true, even if we elect a new person, he's here till April 22nd in a sense, till they take their old. Well, let's do that at the end of the meeting.
Yep.
Sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
All right,
Oh, Jessica.
so then moving on. You said.
Oh, God.
Do we have any
No,
correspondence? Okay.
Jamie, you're.
I will,
You're Russ.
I've been challenged to get this done.
You put the pressure on me.
Jody.
So Jody printed for you in your packet, a winter sports school board report update. There's a little bit of missing information on there, so on the front, I'm not gonna read it all to you, but I'm gonna give you the updates and then I'll come back to a couple of more things. So on the front, on the bottom right-hand side, the high school boys basketball is missing its conference record and kind of its update. So the conference record is 3-9. The season record was 8-17. 3-9, 8-17. And then I think on the back for you, continues with the boys basketball at the top left. The highlights that coach gave me were the 60% increase in wins, 50% improvement in point differential, and it's the second time through conference, they improved their, by 36 points. So when they played their competitors a second time, they saw that improvement. As I said, I'm not gonna read through each of these unless you really want me to, but I think you guys can, the other part is on the right-hand side, the middle school wrestling. I reached out to coach, and so the numbers for the start, if you want to know that, middle school, we don't necessarily enter into WIAA, but we use this report to put it into WIA's website of who starts the season and who ends the season for the high school seasons. So for middle school, they're all the same. They started with 1 6th grader, 1 7th grader, and 4 8th graders. So a total of 6, and they finished the season with those same 6 athletes.
And you finished this what?
Same 6.
Okay. Okay.
How long does their season last, basically?
They start in January, right away when we come back after break, and they finished the first part of mid-March. So, and that is open to male and female. We only had males this year, but it is open to females if they wanted to do middle school wrestling as well. The highlights from Coach Fargo were watching the first year boys start out decent, and watching the progress to the finish of their last meet was very strong. So I don't know if there's any other questions on any of the other reports for the sports. We had a nice banquet. We had, I would say, about 65 people in attendance. I asked a Wysocki family of, it's Family Farms, excuse me, I didn't change that, for donation of the potatoes. So we had a potato bar, and that went over really well, and we sent them a thank you. I think it was well attended. One thing that maybe isn't on here for, I know it is for girls basketball, we had one honorable mention, Courtney Hildebrandt. And I don't think I put the guys on. Coach Brian had given me his like really big report that you read or used at the sports banquet. I know who the boys are, were they both on, one was second team, so
Yeah, RJ was second.
RJ was second team and Gage was honorable mention. So that's not listed on your report either, so if you wanted to know for all conference. The only other thing that I have is to let you know that we have our sponsorships are going out. So Mrs. Humrick and I are working on those and getting those sent out. We made a few adjustments at our February coaches meeting to the sponsorship letter itself, trying to include, what are the things we're gonna try and put the logos of each of our banner sponsors in the programs for basketball. I think it's predominantly basketball, football as well. Whenever we have programs, our sponsors would be listed. So we're working on digitizing or getting the digital version of each of those sponsorships. We'll also have a huddle option that hopefully will come out where people can sponsor huddle, don't combine that spuddle. Make it spuddle. So we have those going out, so if you are interested at all in the golf outing and don't receive something shortly, please reach out. We did make an adjustment to the golf outing as well, because it's Sunday, June 8th, and we usually started at 1 o'clock. We kind of went back to noon, but we have actually adjusted it back to 11 a.m. so that people can go to work Monday after most of the people that have attend our golf outing have requested to maybe we start a little earlier. So there it is. So, but that's nice too, because then the weather and we don't have to deal with. The only thing is dinner won't be at dinner time. It'll be more of a, what do you want to say?
Lumper.
Mid-afternoon, yes. So, I think that's all. Golf outing. And the only other thing I have is we were brainstorming. I know a lot of people like printed copies of the schedule. And my, up north, I call it Indian Head. Whatever it is now. Blackjack, Black River, whatever, Snow River Basin. So they have a schedule that came out 2 years ago, and so I emulated it. I thought it'd be a pretty good math, and I was able to get it printed. So if anybody wants a spring sports schedule, you're more than welcome to have one of these. We have a few printed in the high school office, with the caveat that on the bottom, it's spring. Well, it doesn't matter what sports season we're in. Busing, and with weather, and with everything else. So this is a tentative schedule. Please, on the bottom, we have the website, so refer to that for cancellations, and we do the best we can to post things in Thrillshare and those sorts of things. But we are trying to do a little bit more of a promotion as far as having schedules if you're choosing not to, or whatever, can't use the computer daily. So you can use this as a reference, but please don't hold this over us.
Thanks, Jess.
Thank you very much. All right, do you have notes for Kyla, or?
I'll
just
just
cover them in
your
yours?
stuff in mine, I get most of it covered, yeah.
All right. Then we'll move on to Jamie.
Okay, just real quick, not too much discussion, the board election update, just a reminder. For anyone who doesn't know, there are now 2 people running, Dakota Smiley and Wayne Hutchinson. That was narrowed down. The only thing that I think people need to understand is even though those 2 people are running to represent the town and village of Hancock and the township of Deerfield, there is a Colburn? What's the other one? Down in the,
3 pieces. Terry Horacek from the town of Cloburn told me that, don't hold me to it, but I think she said there's 3 households that send their kids from Colburn.
Oh.
yeah, anyway, I think
For
there's,
sure one.
yeah, they call me every year asking to get out of our district.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so Colburn, and we always say no. So I just want people to understand that all 14 municipalities will be voting for one of those 2 choices, not just those 4 municipalities. So everybody on April 1st will go to the polls to vote for the state superintendent, the judge person,
Yep. Oh, God, yeah.
okay, and then for us, the school board members.
All 3 areas. And there's a.
Is there anything for the county?
No,
Supreme
but there's
Court,
a
state
Supreme
justice,
Court
or
race.
Lubbock
and
Construction.
Voter
then a
ID.
Voter ID thing.
Oh, that's right, okay. Well, all I know is there's, yeah, so that's that. CPI is 2.8 this year. I am going to call Randy, very, very soon, having talked to Cindy about that. And they'll reach out to Jess with a couple of dates to meet for negotiations. And at your next meeting, you will have, numbers for insurance as well. So it'll be a busy April, but I wanted you guys to know where CPI came in this year. Community support for school, that's just my way of putting on the agenda that I wanted to talk briefly about all the support that Plainfield Lions have done for the school, the community, the library, everywhere. We're very grateful to the Plainfield Lions. Their sportsman's banquet is a week from last night. It is Monday, March 31st at 5 p.m. Tickets available at the door. Still looking for, if people did want to sponsor, we've got lots of great sponsors already, but so I just wanted to let people know about that. Next Monday, March 31st.
At 2 Lakes.
At 2 Lakes.
When's the honors banquet?
Ooh, that is
I got it.
April 24th?
Yeah, April 21st.
21st.
Oh.
It was already in April. Yep. And then village permit costs. I just wanted to briefly mention, having talked to a board member and other other village employees about their last meeting. I haven't been able to yet check with the board president. I am going to reach out to him. So when you do any sort of construction, including replacing a roof in the village of Plainfield, you pay a per square foot permit fee, which is about, I believe, 12 cents. There was discussion about whether or not the school would be charged a permit fee for its 115,000 square foot roof. The zoning committee recommended that the board not charge the school the roughly $13,000 of building permit fee, which is a large portion that goes simply to the village, and then a small portion goes for an inspector provided by the county. We would be state inspected anyway as a school district, so the zoning committee was heard. It seemed, from my understanding, it seemed at first as if the board was somewhat supportive of this, kind of a no-brainer. And then after some discussion and audience participation or whatever, they did not choose to not charge the school. Their intention at this point is to charge the school the $13,000 or $14,000 building permit fee, should we have a chance to do that this summer. I have not given up hope, but I just wanted to let the board and the
Was it voted on already?
It was voted on. Or was it not voted on? It's
It
one of those things. Was it tabled or something?
It was not. I think it was next month.
When's the next meeting?
Yeah,
No, don't come to that one, cause Jerry's not gonna be there, and I have to chair it.
Are you making a
I
decision?
don't know if it's gonna be on the next one or not.
So does like a church have to pay for a building permit or
Yeah.
the fire department? Or?
We did.
We don't know if
For our
it
church.
did but the fire department used the same guy.
No, the fire department didn't, cause they're a village entity and they don't.
But aren't we
Well, how
like
is the
a
school
village
any different
entity?
than that?
No.
That's just.
I know, it didn't make any sense to me, don't get me started.
Right.
Jerry
I spoke
knows
for
I come
Wayne.
in-
Yeah. Wayne was very supportive. Wayne, I believe, was on the
It's
zoning
just-
committee that supported us.
It's like me giving you money and you turn around giving me back.
Yeah.
Right.
It's taxpayer money, and
And that's why I wanted to mention in my report so that the taxpayers who are here and taxpayers,
When is that meeting?
when does that mean? Do you know?
I don't know when it's gonna be on the agenda.
Well, we can just show up anyway.
Well, sure.
Well, and is there an open, is there an open, whatever we have,
Yeah,
open forum
Yeah,
Public?
anybody that's there is recognized.
to speak? And I think it's a little bit more laid back, even they don't have to follow the rules quite like we do, I don't think. Or do they?
Why not?
Well, do they follow the rules quite like we do?
I was gonna say, just because
I would think they have to.
Well, I just, the one or two I've been to, it wasn't true.
Well, can you apprise Jamie
Yeah.
when this is gonna be, so he can tell the board members? And then I don't know, how can we get that to the public, so we know
I
when
could
that
put
meeting
it on
is?
the website.
Yeah, cause
and let
that's
people know.
just.
I don't wanna start a war with the
Yeah,
village either,
I
they're
would
friends.
walk softly on it, but I think
Yeah.
it'd be an interesting conversation.
I thought at least if the board members and some folks who are here tonight wanted to show up and voice their concern over that, it might not fall on deaf ears. So,
Well, yeah, from a village standpoint, we talked about not charging nonprofit. Well, then that gets into another muddy mess. So then I said, well, just say the school.
well, you know, I talked about it with the woman who runs the Plainfield Library, and one of my suggestions was I would simply not charge entities that serve the village directly. And we serve the village's children and families directly. There's no middleman. We also serve 13 other municipalities, but we, the fire department, the library, I think about it, serve the village directly and its members. A church only serves those who choose to go to that religion.
I agree with that.
A bar only, you know, everywhere else, I guess a bar is not a good example of a nonprofit. But
Publicly funded too, like through taxes
Right.
as well.
and we're all publicly funded. There's another way.
That was my bone of contention.
Yeah. If we're already publicly funded, why charge a publicly funded entity? So maybe that's something. I know that sometimes people call you when they have concerns. Maybe a phone call or an email to a board president or a board member that not Wayne, of course.
If it was a $300 cost, it would have been eliminated.
Right.
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 Yeah, a camper.
But you said that most of that money comes back to the village. That's another question
Not even sure.
because my question to you was, do you even need the county building inspector,
And I looked into that, and what I found out is I need to have a state inspection. That's why I mentioned that.
but not a county?
Well, I didn't get
That's
anyone to tell me that for sure. What people told me is, well, you have to have a state inspection. So why would you also need to have a county?
Because those fees technically go not only to the village, but the village gets whatever left, what the county building inspector doesn't charge you, and the county assessor doesn't charge you. Well, I said, well, first of all, the assessor's a moot point with this.
We don't pay taxes.
So that leaves the assessor, and I would have thought that being this type of building, the state inspector would come in and say, yeah, yay or nay.
Which they said we do.
And that would definitely override the county, but I asked.
And what I heard is that the state definitely has to inspect, but nobody could say, but I don't. But so what? So if they say the county has to inspect, we'll pay that, whatever that fee is. You know, that I guess would be fair to me. If they say, hey, we had to hire the county, laws are such that it's that silly that we had to have a state and a county, whatever, we'll pay that $8,000 if we have to, so be it. But then the $4,000, $5,000 extra that flows over to the village, I would hope the village would say, don't worry about that, we serve the same.
Are you saying that the county is costing us $8,000?
I just made those numbers
okay.
up. Yeah, I don't know. My suspicion right now, like Wayne's, is the state inspector should cover us, but I haven't gotten anyone to tell me that for sure. I just have to talk to an actual state inspector. But I've talked to his builders, like Myron. I reached out to Myron and they said, yeah, and we know we always have to have state inspectors. We don't really remember county inspectors, but.
Or call the county and ask them, if the state's here doing it,
Do they need to send?
yeah. Well, you're gonna have to find out the fee, or.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody's gotta know. Okay,
And what would happen if the board says we're not gonna pay that bill?
that would be interesting.
I mean, it just seems so stupid. I mean, I'm sure everybody.
Wait, I'm not sure. Do you just have a quick piece of information to share with the board? 'Cause typically you can't talk outside a public forum, but if you just got a bit of information.
No, I just thought I'd bring it up. Another thing to take a look at is look at that fire they had over at Wild Rose School there that time when that guy got hurt real bad.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I just,
Yep.
that's something else to look into too, is the insurance, that way, that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't wanna break rules or nothing.
No, that's okay. No, no problem.
Well, if you could just keep us apprised.
Will do. I'll send something to you guys for sure.
All right, anything else for Jamie,
Okay.
Mr. Delacosty? All right, moving on to Mr. Marty then.
Alright, so Kyla was planning to be here, came in this morning and said that there was kind of a conflict that came up in her schedule and wasn't able to be here, so I'll do my best here to improvise. So things that she had on here, we have kind of evolved. Like our Winterfest is always like our middle of the year kind of like school event type of a thing, right? And it's got a spirit week like homecoming week does, and we do floor hockey, and there's dress up days, and there's all that type of stuff that goes on. And for a lot of years we did a dance, and it would routinely be it would be the least attended of the events that we would do, right? Not that it's a bad thing at all. There was a time that we had like the National Guard come and bring in like inflatable stuff and have all the kids come in and do that stuff for a night. We did a smaller, like a more like intimate type of deal where we just used like the cafeteria and had a DJ playing in there, so it was a little more cozy and it was a little more. So we've just done a bunch of different things. But the last couple of years, Mrs. Knudsen, formerly Miss Rettler, and student council that kind of generated this new initiative where we do these dinners and the staff come in and feed the kids or serve the kids. Last year was kind of like a fancy supper, dress up, and I think it was like roasted chicken and potatoes and all that stuff that the kids got to come in and eat. And again, we were all the servers for the night. This year it was like a sock hop theme, and so Mr. D was there and grilled up all the burgers for the event. Miss Helmert was doing milkshakes, and we were bussing, running out food back and forth. Kids had a really good time. Did a bunch of raffles, and kids got to win some different gift cards. And to kind of top the night off, they went and grabbed all the rollerblades and had them in there. So we had a lot of some rollerblading going on through the halls, for a stretch there. So high school kids acting like they're kids again, and that's kind of fun. So it was a fun night. So anyway, I wanted to just thank our staff for being a part of that. Obviously, our student council for organizing that. It was a really good night. Our high school kids had a lot of fun with that. NHS trip took place right before we had our spring break. This was the Minneapolis year. I have not personally bumped into Mr. Raboin yet about it. It sounded like overall it went well. It sounded like perhaps there was a couple of new, there was kind of a snafu with like ticketing at like the Science Museum that they had to kind of get, like they purchased. The purchase included something that wasn't on the original tickets when they got it, and so like there was some of that type of stuff that happened, but it was all cleared up. So they found out that the Mall of America has shored up their security, and they demand that you carry an ID if you are 16 or older, and if you don't, you get pulled into a holding place until your supervisor comes and finds you. So I think we had a really, really honorable, respectful young lady that happened with for about 15 minutes, and I had to tease her about that today. Wow. So it was nothing horrible, but they just didn't know that was going to be a thing. So they were like asking every kid that looked teenage-ish if they weren't with a parent or with an adult, do you have your ID? So I guess it is what it is, right? So, but they had a fun time. FFA banquet's coming up on April 6th. That's a Sunday. It's always on a Sunday. 4:30, cake raffle and all that good fun stuff will be a part of that. As far as these other items that we have on here, spring sports, Miss Rettler was super awesome and just kind of got me some really quick preliminary numbers for our high school spring teams. Track and field's got 19 kids out right now. Softball has 18. Baseball has 14. Track and field, this is their third week now of practice, right? Softball would have started last week. Baseball just started yesterday. So they're getting those all fired up. Lots of good participation and energy about that. And middle school seasons are all going to get going here right about, or the really near future. Track did just start, right? So, okay. So that's that. On the next item, Math League, the third meet's coming up on Monday. So that's the final one for the year there. FBLA, in the calendar here, it says that the state FBLA convention is the 31st and 1st, so that'd be Monday, Tuesday. I'm not 100% because Ms. Hintz has like a question mark by it, but we had, I think we had like 14 kids that qualified to advance to that with our first year of our FBLA program, so that's awesome. NHS, the 21st of April is the honors banquet, as was mentioned a little bit ago. So those are all kind of things that are happening on the school side there. I wanted to comment on March 11th, which was statewide ACT Day. Super happy, proud of our kids, proud of our staff and our building, and our, just I think it went really, really well. We had, I think I had like 8 spaces that were being used with varying numbers of kids. Where testing was taking place, we had all juniors but 1 in attendance on that day. We ran grades 9, 10, and 12 as a virtual day, and that went, I think, all right. Went about as good as maybe we could have hoped it would go. But the building was quiet, and the juniors did a good job. They put forth good effort with it. And the student who was absent came in the next day and had hers taken care of that day. So we were all wrapped up in 2 days. It was the first time we did it online, which all the practice testing that we did this year has been online as well. But we've had the option to do that for a few years, and a number of schools did. We kind of held off. Kids kind of in the past had said they liked the paper pencil idea, and we had a system that worked well. But we decided to go with that this year, and it worked well. Like we didn't really have. I think I had 2 students who, between tests, might have gotten kicked out, and it's just the room supervisor is able to like reset them, and it's not like you lose what you did, you just jump back in where you're supposed to be. So it worked well. So I think definitely it was a good template there. Starting next week, the next 2 weeks are forward exam. I'm these next couple days here, I'm working on kind of finalizing the portal for the forward exam, and then for what we call the pre-ACT secure, which is the 9th and 10th grade assessments that they do. So forward exam, grades 6, 7, 8. 8 has the full battery of tests, which includes social studies and science, as well as math and reading. Everybody else has just math and reading. They're going to be distributing that up in their classroom level spaces over the next 2 weeks. So they've got a good map laid out right now for that. I actually popped in when I was going to ask Ms. Rutler about those spring sport numbers. She was doing a really awesome lesson on, it was just kind of like a forward exam, kind of grab bag of stuff. Again, in the kind of the formats that those types of questions are, and again, to talk through and think through, because it's, they coincide, I think, really well with what our math program looks like now, which is good. It's much more language and conceptual and thinking about the math than it is just seeing and doing. And that can be it's a great thing, but you gotta be patient. And kids they're not wired to be patient when they want to get into math. They're not asked to do things that they can't do. It's you have the patience to like see it through and see the details and break it down. So anyway, so that's that. Pre-ACT secure and forward exam 10. 10th graders do have to take a couple of social studies tests. I've explained that in prior years. It's ridiculous, but it is what it is. Pre-ACT, that'll happen on April 8th. So that's going to be our 9th and 10th graders. That's a week from Tuesday, 2 weeks from today. There we go. That's a better way to put it. And we actually had Holly Fox came in today, who is the point of contact for the Portage County Business Council. She's been really involved with us the last 2 years with our juniors and seniors that have done the Portage County Leadership Program, which has been really awesome. But she organizes various different activities that you can partner with the Business Council, and she's going to bring in a bunch of volunteers and run a reality shop for our 9th and 10th graders on the 8th after they finish their testing. So like a reality shop is you are given a career and an income and a family situation, like it's all a hypothetical type of a thing. And then you have all these kind of like vendor tables, so to speak, that represent all the different expenses and things that you need to, that are all part of life. And that can be from food to housing to getting a car to, whatever, any of these different things. And they're given about 90 minutes to kind of try to manage their lives based on the livelihood that they're given. So that's going to be 9th graders will get done before the 10th graders, and they'll roll in and do that. And then after they're done, the 10th graders will roll in and do that. And that'll kind of be how that day will work for them. But it'll be fun, and it'll be interesting. They'll be engaged in it, and it's definitely not sitting in a classroom. Idea came up today that I just thought I'd share, because I had a junior come into my office today. He's all excited. He came about chemistry, and he's like, I don't remember what they were even getting into and talking about, but he's like, we should go to Cave of the Mountains. He's like, this would be great. It fits really good with what we're talking about. And I go, that's a cool place, And I said, it really doesn't matter. You can go in January, you can go in July. It's the same temperature and that thing. It's a cool place. And he's like, would it be something that we could maybe make work? And I said, well, you got to have people that are going to be able to, help take you guys, obviously. And there's got to be in the spring it gets really busy, there's just a lot of moving parts going on, right? But then that date kind of popped into my head, and I said, you know, we could take, there could be a junior class thing, and junior advisors and Miss Helmrich, if they're all down, that could happen on that day, and everything would keep clicking just like we would want it to, because 9th and 10th grade needs a quiet building to do that. So there's been some discussion in the last 12 hours, and that might happen on that day. So the junior class would have kind of a fun, it could maybe, kind of throw out the idea of maybe doing that, and then maybe going and hiking Devil's Lake if it's a decent day, because that's really close by, and then they can come back, and if there happens to be a track meet or a baseball or softball, like be back in time for whatever they have to be back in time for. But it'll be a fun day, so that might happen. I think that's pretty much what I had down to comment on. So yeah, that's what I got.
Any questions? All right, in your packet, you've got a summary from Brittany. So that's somewhere. Yep. If you have any questions, maybe shoot them to Brittany via email tomorrow. All right. Next page. Future agenda items. Board elections coming up in April. Preliminary layoff notices for teachers by April 30th. Swearing in new board members.
And that includes returning board members,
Okay.
newly returning.
And it has to be done.
Before the Tuesday, the 20, oh, I wish we had a calendar. in
March
here.
20, before April 21st.
Thank you.
Has to be done by Monday, April 21st, which is why we were thinking about moving the board meeting, but I talked to the insurance folks and they can't. So my ask of Cindy, Wayne, and either Wayne or Dakota will be, would you be willing to come in and meet with Jody, who is a notary public, and sign your document in front
You
of
have to
her?
be sworn in.
That's it.
We've done that before.
Yeah, we
Okay,
done that
if
before.
you're willing to do it, great. Then we would just have our meeting on April 22nd as planned.
She always swears at me good.
Yeah, I suppose.
Years ago, we used
You
to
too,
move
huh?
the meeting till Monday, so we could get it done,
But now it's sports bank. Or our honors
Honors
bank.
bank.
Yeah,
which is fine.
yeah, otherwise we would have just done that.
So just come in when you can. Make sure it's done before
There you
the
go.
meeting in April.
I'll reach out.
We'll call
Other things on the future agenda items are the 25-26 contract names, letters of intent for support staff and extracurriculars, a budget report, snow makeup days, and negotiations. And that's what's on my list.
you.
Anything
Just-
else?
Just we'll probably get done pretty early tonight, relatively early. So the payoff is, yeah, don't count your chickens before they hatch. Payoff is the next 2 months, you guys all know, April, May are always super busy. So,
Do we wanna set a date for doing a meeting for the evaluation?
yep.
Yeah, we can do that.
Well,
Probably on your smartphone.
I don't have my phone on the car.
Specific day of the week.
what's a good day for you folks? Is Tuesday, I know for Mark and Wes for sure, it's earlier the better. I'm just looking at Tuesdays, is April 8th,
No. I have village board.
April 1st?
It's election day.
Election
That's
day.
election day.
Oh, and this building will be used till 8 o'clock. April 9th, Wednesday?
It's church day.
It's,
Yeah.
Lent, yeah.
And it's Lent. April 15th, tax day. I'll probably be paying my taxes that night. April 15th, Tuesday?
Sure.
Good by me.
10.
5 o'clock? Earlier, later?
I think a little bit later than 5.
6? 5:30?
5:30 would be okay. We could do 5:30 or 6.
5:30?
Okay.
And the way it
Maybe
looks
it'll be
now,
raining.
Cindy,
What?
could we ask the way it looks now, everybody could be there? I mean, if things happen, but that's
Yeah.
good for all of us. not good for you?
It's just that late in April, he's,
Yeah.
If it ain't
April till October, it's
it's
tough.
usually 5 o'clock.
If it's raining or snowing, but that's probably true any day after
Yeah.
April
Yeah,
fifth.
so I'll make my best to get here.
We can zoom you
If
in.
the sun's out.
Yeah.
We can zoom in and
You
check.
guys know what they're doing.
Okay, we'll start with.
Somebody's gotta hold the whip every minute of the day.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so
I'll
right
send
now,
someone
let's-
else tomorrow.
Tuesday, April
5:30.
15th at 5:30. Do we want to, I'll keep these, but do we want to send out this form so everybody can look it over before the meeting? Yeah, okay,
I'll have some of that.
okay.
Do you have information on that grant yet?
I've got it in my office, I got the final signed copy today. I signed it yesterday, WEDAC signed it today, so 25 grand, I'll give you a copy, I'll make you a copy right now.
Okay,
I'll give you that copy because I have it electronically. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
when do you need to check by?
end of the fiscal year. Should I not give you that much leeway?
No.
Tomorrow?
Okay, that works. Ain't gonna be tomorrow, but.
No, but,
next meeting.
yeah.
Okay,
we
any
got
other
it.
announcements?
I guess I just got a question, that I had talked to Jamie about a month and a half ago or whatever, suggesting, or making the suggestion that, when a board member misses, they're put absent on the list. My question was, why don't we do the same thing with the principals missing? Because they should be reported down that they're not here, so that it's known, cause.
It would be in the minutes, though, Jim.
Huh?
It would be in the minutes if they didn't give a report, right?
Well, that's true.
No, I don't think it.
Usually behind it, it says was not present.
Well, that's a good way to do it.
Okay, I guess I didn't see that, so
Yeah.
sorry,
No, that's a good thing. I don't know if we did do that all the time, but that would be a good way to cover it.
I don't know, cause usually our principals were here all the time, and now,
Yeah.
you know, I
Well,
mean,
that'd be a way.
Like-
Yeah,
you're missing 2-3 times or whatever, period.
alright.
Alright, anything else for announcements?
And Jamie, they all know down there, so you can announce that, or I don't know how that works.
Well, there's rules by the state about when I can announce it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
so if it- like on
Okay.
something like a public meeting, we can have a discussion, but I don't wanna say on the record here
okay,
in front of the video yet.
we're all good.
Yeah, we're good, yeah.
Alright, setting future meeting dates. Change the April meeting date for swearing in, April 15th recommended. We just talked about that.
Yeah, we just talked about that. That was just, we didn't know that last Thursday when we.
Adjourn.
Okay, Jim is moving to adjourn at 8:01. All those in favor?
We need a second.
Oh, a second, I'm
Second.
sorry.
West side.
West second.
Wait,
What?
before you guys, Mr. Jim Miller has been wonderful and awesome, and I got out the good candy for him tonight. And this is probably his last official regular board meeting. So I just think, yay, Jim, for all the.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, well.
Upright.
The teachers were hoping you would give an hour to hour and a half long speech about, because they really don't want to go home and go to bed.
Cindy, I'll call a motion.
One big fly.
Jim's these people.
Favor of adjournment.